You see, I have a pretty high pain tolerance when it comes to problems in vehicles. And people always complain about how hard Land Rovers are to work on. Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. Now that we got the truck portion of the LR4 mostly figured out, it's time to tackle what we're gonna do with this elephant in the room. Yes, the 5-liter V8 that I've managed to ruin. Or at least mostly ruin. Up until today, I didn't know exactly what we're gonna do, but now I do. And let's sort this situation out. Videos ago I was talking about how I need to downsize. We need to get down to less Land Rovers laying around. Well, today we're doing a very good job of it because we're picking another one up. God, I'm the dumbest person I know. So last video I said that this one was going to be about the LR4 truck. Yes, the one that we cut the back off of. So what exactly does another LR4 sitting on a spare tire with the back half attached have to do with the truck LR4? Well, mainly has to do with that 5-liter V8. Let's take this guy for a spin and see what we got going on here. You may remember the reason why we tore the body off the silver LR4 in the first place, and that is because I cooked the engine. And it looks like we got some burn marks. Yes, I ruined the head gaskets. We can't blame Land Rover, we can only blame Joe. So we tore that engine down to see what we needed to do to get that back into shape, and unfortunately, it wasn't looking great. If you've messed around with 5-liter V8s, you know that when you get into rebuilding the lower end, it can get complicated. Parts sourcing is hard, machining isn't the easiest. The complicated doesn't worry me as much as the cost. It can get kind of expensive going through one of these engines. So in true Land Rover hoarding fashion, we're gonna solve that problem by buying another one. And I just wanted to spin that around the block to make sure we're actually solving the problem. But let's get this guy in the shop and check it out a tad more before we tear another body off. Yes, we kind of got a recent theme going on here. This one's getting tore down too. But don't worry, it is the perfect donor for the truck. We're not just destroying good Land Rovers around here, trying to make more Land Rovers work. We're destroying rusty Land Rovers to make other Land Rovers work. So yes, as you've guessed it, this 5-liter V8 is gonna end up in the LR4 truck. So if we look at the economics of this whole thing, we can purchase a running and driving LR4 that is too rusty, yes, too rusty, to keep on the road and tear that down. So instead of going out and buying a replacement junkyard engine for a few $1,000s, we can buy a complete vehicle for less than that somehow. And we even got to drive it beforehand to make sure everything's happy, and it's relatively happy. Like any somewhat neglected Land Rover, it has some stuff that's going to need to be taken care of, but this is in much better shape than what we had in there. The other option we have on the engine in the truck LR4 is to have it rebuilt, but that becomes economically not viable after a while, especially in our area. We don't have machine shops that are overly used to doing 5-liter Land Rover V8s, and just having the cylinder heads redone is going to be more than I'll have into this entire engine. And if we had to go into the lower end and have that remachined or sleeved, we would be talking $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 by the time we were said and done with it. Because the correct way to do it would be to punch it out, put some new sleeves in it, because they are Nicosol coated and you really can't bore that out. So we have an intermittent cylinder 8 misfire detected, and our alternator is obviously bad. You saw it was not charging, but not a big deal. We've been there before. Hopefully we can make it. We're close enough to almost being able to coast. And now we have a dead cluster. So this is going to be a little bit of a repeat of when we tore the body off the silver one, and we're going to do it in a pretty quick fashion. Essentially wheels off, flares off, fender liners off, bumpers off front and rear, and we're going to be well on our way to lifting this body off. And on top of getting an engine for the silver truck, we are going to end up with a load of spare parts. We have LR4s laying around. I have LR4s in the family, so it'll be nice to have extra parts. And heck, if you need anything off this besides the engine, let me know. More than happy to sell some stuff. And speaking of stuff, look at that. We're already on the come up. A snap-on ratchet strap. How much do you think that guy was? Jeez. Have I ever told you how much I hate these chrome cap lug nuts? I guess these are stainless ones, but dumbest design I've ever seen invented. They do nothing but swell over time and just make it a general pain to take them off. This wheel's jumping off. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to have to hammer those guys off. I'm curious to see how fast we can get this off this time around. When we tore the complete body off the truck, it took about 3 hours and 45 minutes to do that. I bet we're close to half that time on this go around. These are still the easiest headlights to remove. I say that as it now doesn't come out. There we go. If you didn't watch last time, it is literally lift this slide and this one there, pull it out, unplug it. Crazy. And people always complain about how hard Land Rovers are to work on. They really aren't that bad. It is really getting kind of tight working around here. I spent the first part of the week reorganizing the container so we can stuff all the Vitesse P38 parts into it. It's nice to not have the Vitesse around, but as you know, when you blow a car apart to part it out, they take a whole lot more room in pieces than they do as a whole. So how do we solve that problem? Tear another one apart. I truly am the dumbest person I know. My own worst enemy. Room. We need it. We'll just set this right there for now. So I think we got pretty much everything up top here undone, separated out. AC lines are loose. We need to undo this connector, missed that one. But our connectors are split, heater hoses. I probably missed some things. I'm doing this off memory from when we did it a couple months ago. But if you want a little more in depth, watch the last video. This is just a quick one. No need to make you sit through the whole thing that we just did. Your time's a whole lot more precious than mine. Underneath here, we just got a couple things, and that is to get our shift cable undone. That's easy, just a 13 and slide it out. And our manual parking brake release. Slide that out of there. Clear. Over here, we got that big bulkhead connector. I should have did this when I was on the ground. I'm not tall enough to reach it now. We need a stool. All right. That thing is pretty slick and dusty, but that takes care of almost all the wiring in the back. Now that we got that out of the way, and of course they're not going to come out. That one did. By how rusty it is, that's not shocking. Well, we're doing better than I thought. I should probably put some safety squints on so I don't go blind. Kind of like being able to see most days. Have I ever told you how much I hate frickin' rust? I can't even imagine what it'd be like living somewhere where you didn't have to deal with these type of problems. Your guys' lives must be too easy. Now we just need to get the wheels back on and reset the hoist to the body instead of the frame. Then we can figure out what I missed while we pop that guy off. See if we're anywhere close. I swear I didn't pee my pants. It's just washer fluid. You just want to be a little careful when you're doing this because we could tip the body off pretty easy if we get too crazy. It's so ridiculously easy to get the bodies off these things. We check our time, 2 hours. So we almost cut it in half, a little better than half the amount of time that it took last time. There is what we are after. We're gonna clear out some more of the stuff out of the way and get that guy plucked out. We're gonna get the drive shafts out of the way. Those are a different size. And with those undone, we're just about ready to lift the 5-liter out. We're gonna take it out with the transmission and then separate them after we have it on the ground. We got the coolant drained. We probably need to unbolt those before we get them out. Let it drain a little bit longer. We're gonna get the engine mounts undone and then we'll roll this thing outside so we have a little more room up front here. You see, there's kind of a lightweight in the way. Now, I've said this many times, but man, it's almost enjoyable to work on them when you have the body off. That few hours you're gonna have taking it off, putting it back on, is well worth the lack of frustration of hanging over the front end and trying to wiggle your way through everything. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be how I work on these guys from here on out. Come on. I should probably grab something to stop it. We don't exactly have brakes. That looks good. I don't know how this is going to work out with where I have it hooked up. We'll see. About as well as I thought. All right, we're going to have to readjust. All right, we'll try that. I thought the transmission would be heavier than it is. Got one hose still connected to the frame. Now we're in good shape. We got quite the oil leak going on back here. I mean, it's mainly oil, it looks like. There might be some coolant leaking too, which would not be shocking. This rear crossover leaks all the time. But we're gonna get this on the stand, get it kind of sprayed off a little bit. And before this goes in the silver one, we're obviously gonna freshen a lot of stuff up. It'll get new chains, all new cooling stuff, but we're gonna have to take a deeper dive in a little bit later to make sure everything is good. And we're just gonna swing this on to the engine stand. We're gonna get that into the shop here shortly, but before that, I wanna swing the chassis back underneath the body, and then we can set everything back down. Then we're gonna pull this guy out of the shop. This is gonna get parted out. It's just not gonna get parted out today. So we'll swing it back around the back. Now that we got the P38 cleared out of here, we have a spot out back that this will sit nicely. Then we need to clean the mess up in here, and we can kind of swing the other LR4 back onto the hoist because we're gonna pull the body off. That's the next step, I guess. This whole truck conversion doesn't really have instructions, so I'm just kind of winging it. We got our engine tucked to the side so we can swing the body and the chassis back out once we made them together. It's a little bit like Tetris around here because we need to do things in a certain order. Now it's gonna be a little interesting trying to line this back up. Are we close? I'm sure I have it lined up 100% perfect. Zero doubts in the world that we're gonna have to adjust anything. We'll see if this nice rusty bolt-on hitch thingy holds up. We'll call that close enough. All right, let's get this turd out of here. Plenty of clearance. I thought I had a better parking brake set up. You ever just laugh at the problems you create for yourself? Or is that just me? I tend to create a lot of problems around here, but we just spent the last probably hour, yes Chet, hour, almost as long as it took to get the body off the white one, getting the truck from out of that corner and in the vicinity of the hoist. 100% self-inflicted. I should buy less stuff, but what do? I go and buy more stuff. I mean, at least I'm self-aware of the problem. I just don't know how to not have the problem. But either way, we have the 5 liter sitting on the stand inside here, and I'm pretty sure our oil leak is coming from the oil filter, mainly the O-ring on the oil filter. It was super wet down there, and what happens is they fill the valley up, and then it ends up draining out the back, out the front, and killing the alternator. I don't even know how to pronounce that word. I've worked on cars my entire life. I say alternator, like a hillbilly, but if you look at the spelling, it's alternator, alternator. I get rid of the R. But they don't like being doused in a constant bath of oil. After that, they quit charging. So we need an alternator. We have an alternator, but we're gonna go ahead and get a list of parts we need. Got some input on the list of parts we need. You're being very helpful right now. But no, we'll put together a list and get a hold of our buddies at Lucky 8 and get a bunch of stuff coming for this so we can prep it to go into the truck. And let's get this off, and I'll show you why we ended up going this route. If you remember, our head gasket was bad on these 2 little bridges in between the cylinders, like someone maxed the temp gauge bad. The heads themselves look like they're in pretty good shape, but my main worry is right there. And I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up. We'll kind of move the light around, but it is pitted up in between these 2 cylinders. Now, chances are we could clean that up some, get a fresh set of gaskets, but the real fix is getting that block decked and milled down. But if we were gonna go through the trouble of tearing down the lower end on this and getting everything stripped off, we should probably go ahead and get it all honed out, especially that area where something went through the engine at some point in time. and I guess replace that piston. So it would really need to be like bored out, re-sleeved to do that correctly, and I just don't see the value in that. If we were gonna spend $10,000, $15,000 on this, it would have a supercharged V8 in it, not another essentially stock 5-liter V8. So my original plan was to just slap it together and run it and see what happens. You see, I have a pretty high pain tolerance when it comes to problems in vehicles. So if something went wrong, it really wouldn't bother me. We would just solve that problem when it came. But there is a chance that we end up selling this down the road. And I couldn't in good conscience sell this with that engine to someone and have a potential problem. That is the type of things that give Land Rovers bad names, and I don't want to be that person. So we're going to put a nice stock 5-liter back in it. We're going to update all the timing chain stuff and go through it and make sure everything's good, and then we'll have a useful truck again. I mean, I guess I could have showed you the issues with the body off. Would have been much easier. But there, the cab is back off on the truck, and that'll be the last time it comes off. Well, fingers crossed, that'll be the last time it comes off. So we have a lot to do ahead of us. The simplest thing is once that's refreshed, we're gonna be able to pluck our block out and slide that in. The transmission gets to stay in place for this one. We're gonna get our exhaust out of the way because we are making a new one. I'm not exactly sure 100% on the order of operations here, but I think on the next video, the chassis will be rolled out of the way. Yeah, we're gonna rearrange this area some and hopefully get the lightweight and the chassis stuck this way. We got some real estate by the LS3 Defender we can eat up. Like I said, Tetris to solve my own self-created problems. But then we can get the chassis back down on the ground and do the final fit up of the cab. And it's gonna be bonded together into one piece. Then we can get that box of modules back out and start putting everything back together. We're really not that far away from having a running and driving vehicle again. We have the engine solved. Now we just need to figure out how to make the car happy again with all the electronics. That'll be an interesting one. With the cab out of the way, we're also gonna be able to finish out our support bars that'll go down to the chassis for the headache rack roll bar situation. And you can kind of see a little better what is going on with the pass-through toolbox. The back side of this will be cut out and we'll be able to access the inside of that box from either toolbox on the side. It'll be pretty slick, but on the tray bed side, we just need to make our supports down, like I said, to the frame, and then weld everything out and install that, and that'll be good to go. And then this guy will be a one-piece running and driving UTE LR4. I'm super excited. Things are progressing, and I'm glad to have the engine situation sorted out. I didn't know exactly what to do on that front. I just want to use the thing and enjoy it and not overcomplicate life. I'm very good at overcomplicating life. For once, we're just gonna be semi-responsible Joe. I say this as we cut an LR4 in half. Somehow this is the responsible version of me. But either way, appreciate you guys watching, appreciate you subscribing, and we will catch you on the next one. This thing's fun to work on. Speaking of semi-responsible Joe, that 3D printer has been going mad lately. We're up over 100 hours of printing, and we got the top of our one toolbox set up in the tool grid-esque stuff. Got a bunch of socket holders, got everything organized. I feel accomplished.